Hello, friends, and welcome to the 8:30 Live. This time, I think on time. Well, just about on time. So, yeah, welcome to the live. Now, I don't know if there was news today, but if there was, I sure as hell didn't read it because I got nothing. I got like one thing about some drug for COVID, and then Trump is rolling back his decision on foreign foreign students. So actually, you know what? We'll just cover that first because it's pretty straightforward and easy. And honestly, like I don't know. Now that folks are used to the pandemic, for the most part, I feel like all the news that was coming out and all the stuff that we were talking about at the beginning, and the reason folks asked me to start doing the live, you know, it's sort of dissipated, which I think is a good thing because ultimately we don't want to be stuck in lonely pandemic land, grasping at straws for solutions and information forever. In fact, we don't want to be there at all. So I think it's fine. But we might as well cover these two things, and then what? Then I can go have some dinner. So first, if you hadn't heard, Trump sort of went out of his way to screw over international students by changing the rules, the visa rules, such that if you didn't have an in-person class, if you didn't attend class in person, rather, you wouldn't be eligible for a student visa. This, of course, put a huge crimp on things. One, Donald Trump is trying to get schools to reopen. And then two, he doesn't want immigrants. So it's sort of like a win-win for him. Either schools reopen or or we have fewer immigrants. But, that being said, he had to walk it back today because I actually don't know why. I didn't read the article. Like I said, if there was news today, I didn't read it. All I know is that he went back on it. And what's the point of even reading these things? The dude is ridiculous. He doesn't follow administrative procedure, which is why the Supreme Court shut down his attempt to roll back DACA. He doesn't play by the rules, which in turn gets hit, which is why they had to roll back his visa travel ban. So, it's not that I've stopped reading these things altogether. Obviously, I think it's important to keep up on the processes of the United States, but it's just nonsensical. Donald Trump is just constantly throwing out random ideas and having them shut down. Now, it sucks because his constant throwing out of random ideas, one, things stick occasionally, and two, it throws everything into chaos, and three, it undermines the idea of the rule of law because as Trump challenges limitations on his power and challenges the procedural rules which protect all of us from a wanton executive administration, it erodes the democracy and it erodes our politics. But, it's just like, of course he had to roll it back. The guy's a lunatic. And then the second thing is, I don't know if folks saw this, but there was, this is the one thing that I did share today, and I did it so that I could ping my immunologist friend. There was a drug that they discovered, some researchers in Israel discovered shuts down coronavirus basically in lung cells. Now, this was done in cells, and my doctor friend was kind enough to comment on my post and basically say, it was done in cells. I don't care until it's done in animals. Cells are these, individual cells are an idealized situation, which has nothing to do, or, you do it before you go to live trials in animals, but it has a lot less to do with the actual biology of the body than you might think. But basically, the theory here, or the thing that they discovered, was that coronavirus it messes with the body's metabolism and the cell's capacity to process carbohydrates, which leads to a buildup of fats. And this is to do with the coronavirus's basically its use of the body's metabolism to store food for itself and provide energy for its replication. And so this shut down the coronavirus's ability to manipulate metabolism in the cell, starving it, which caused it to die effectively within 5 days. So if this actually worked out, we'd have a real treatment that shut down the coronavirus, prevented it from replicating, and then killed it effectively in 5 days. which would make it, apparently, according to the article, no worse than the common cold. But still, we're a long way off. And I suppose the other thing is there was a vaccine news today. It was that a vaccine that's under trial, an experimental vaccine, does in fact boost the immune response. So that's good. These are positive developments in what is definitely going to be another 9-month program of trying to suss out and test for both efficacy and safety all of these new treatments and all of these vaccine candidates. I will say that this particular drug has already been approved by the FDA. It's called Tricor. So it's very nice insofar as if you could repurpose a treatment that's already been approved by the FDA, then you don't have to go through lots and lots of safety trials. You can start administering it, which would have been nice about hydroxychloroquine, except that one, hydroxychloroquine doesn't help, and two, it actually has some pretty adverse side effects. So there you have it. In any event, for everybody just joining, I just went through all my hot topics. There weren't a lot of them, and so I'm ready to take questions. But otherwise, I'm just going to go right to the Magna Carta, and then I'm going to go eat because we're doing the live at 9 now, which is fine, I guess. But it means that I eat like a half an hour later, so I don't finish eating till like 11. It's quite difficult. Michael Kaplan, waiting for a vaccine or treatment to emerge is not a strategy. It's surrender. Oh, yeah? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to make of that. That's like saying waiting for the atomic bomb wasn't a strategy. It was a surrender. I mean, we did fight World War II, and I suppose we had basically won by the time the atomic bomb was invented. But, I think you have to pursue all of these avenues. And if you get to the nuclear option by the end of it, and you still need it, then it's part of the strategy to get to that end result. And that end result does play an important part in a worst case scenario. So at the worst, we have to wait for a vaccine. However, I will say that, there were 0 deaths from coronavirus in New York last Sunday. And so we've really reached a point where there is the rate of transmission and the rate of death and the rate of infection is just so low that my friend seems to think it's burned itself out. I don't believe in that. I think that, it can come roaring back. It's an infectious disease. But I'd say that we're in a pretty decent shape as long as we take due precautions. One thing I will say is, there was an article that got passed around that I saw that I had read actually last week, but it was getting passed around again about one woman who traveled from the United States to China or Hong Kong or something and infected 71 people in her building through the elevator, as they figured out it was through the elevator. And ultimately, it was just an article that was saying, don't stop washing your hands just because you think it's safer, okay? When you touch surfaces outside your home that were in an uncontrolled environment, wash your hands before touching anything else. Wash your hands when you get home. Doorknobs, light switches, they all count. Just remember to wash your goddamn hands. It's still important because even though the risk of transmission through fomites, which is to say, surfaces, has been decidedly not the main vector, it obviously is a vector. So stick with the program. I also saw an article that was like, it lingers in the air for up to 16 hours. We're back to all this again. Look, as long as folks wear masks, they're not exhaling a lot of it into the environment. As long as you wash your hands, you're not taking it from a surface to your face or what have you. I think we can get this thing under control. And in fact, here in New York, we have, and in many other countries, they have. It's really the rest of the country that is full of obstinance and simply doesn't want to take really, really minor precautions to prevent the spread of this disease. And ultimately, the problem is that, like, if they come to New York, we can't really stop them. But it's not the going outside protesting, particularly folks wearing masks. It's not the eating outside and dining together or what have you. It's people who are completely inconsiderate, who, and this has been recorded, people who have coronavirus test positive or think they have symptoms and go out anyway because they're just like, screw it. Although I will say that I saw a story about a parent who dropped off a coronavirus positive child at daycare, potentially infecting a bunch of other children because they needed to do that so that they could go to work. And of course, when you don't give parents relief and you require them to go to work and don't give them time off to take care of sick children, you're going to have the spread of the pandemic further, because sick children will have to be cared for by somebody who's not within the household. It's just the dumbest. The United States is just undertaking like the dumbest possible policies right now. Anyway, Michael Kaplan, it may or may not come. Just ask the AIDS researchers. Yes. But on the plus side, we have a lot more experience with coronavirus than we did with AIDS when it first surfaced, and our technology is significantly better. You couldn't just go and sequence the AIDS genome when it emerged, right? We didn't have that technology. You couldn't sequence a genome like that. And then, furthermore, the AIDS virus was a lot harder to track down. People didn't know it was a virus. They thought it was a cancer at first. It had a lot of weird symptoms. It's very good at hiding. This we much more rapidly track down as a virus. We know the source of we know the sort of family of viruses from which it derives, and we have sequenced the genome. It should be pursued but not counted on. Test and trace. Well, we should certainly be doing testing and tracing. Anyway, in any event, let's do the Magna, and then we'll call it a short night. It's a Tuesday, so I think that's totally reasonable. What do we got here? 44. People who live outside the forest, I love this. People who live outside the forest need not in future appear before the royal justices of the forest in answer to general summonses, unless they are actually involved in proceedings or are sureties for someone who has been seized for a forest offense. I love it. They have like forest people, and they have people outside the forest, and then they have forest law. It's like it reads. It feels now like the Magna Carta being a real document. It feels like I'm reading something about, I don't know, a fantasy world. The people of the forest, people who live outside the forest need not in future appear before the royal justices of the forest. Like, you can think about it. Like, there's the whole forest kingdom. Like, the elves live there. It's like, you don't have to, they don't have jurisdiction over you anymore if you live outside the forest. Unless, of course, you did something in the forest or you are the witness for something that happened in the forest. I love it. That's great. It's brilliant. In any event, I'm going to call it. It's been real fun, but we'll do it again tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. I know the times are all wacky because over the weekend I didn't do it, which was planned, and then yesterday I was late. But tomorrow at 9, I'll see you all then.